Hi guys, welcome to episode 8 of this series of video blogs. As you may have noticed, there hasn't been one posted in the last 2 weeks. There's various reasons for that. The main one is because there wasn't really anything interesting to talk about, so but also I was running out of time, so I didn't post anything. But I didn't want to give up completely, so I've got a new one for you this week, and I thought this week I would briefly talk about some of my projects, some of my ongoing projects, and some ideas of things I want to do in a short and medium term. The first thing that I wanted to show you that I'm kind of really super close to finishing is my pedal board. Don't know if you can see it quite well. So this is my pedal board. It's basically made of plywood, but it's almost finished, so it's all painted. Don't know if I'm going to put a finish on it, but what I want to do, I don't know, you can probably see it from here, is I want to put my logo on there. And I've tried a couple of things. What I wanted to do is I've got a whole bunch of old CDs which I wasn't quite sure what to do with, and I thought, well, it would be quite nice to sort of like use that as some sort of inlay or make some sort of decorative mosaic with it, because if you cut it up and just kind of glue the top side, just showing up the shiny side, it can kind of give you a nice effect. So I tried that, and turns out the label on like commercial DVDs, CDs or whatever doesn't stick very well, so the plastic bit of the CD just kind of, if you glue it, it just kind of peels off. So that's kind of which size again? That's what you can see in here. So that was my first attempt. It's kind of very small. Don't know if this thing doesn't focus automatically. So it's very interesting. Because I was hoping to sort of like do a mosaic with you know, maybe kind of fill the gaps with epoxy and just do something nice, but I think this gave me another idea for how to apply my logo, and I might just sort of like experiment with foil and super glue and see what happens. So once that's done, I can finally apply. Again, I don't know if I'm going to put any finish on there because this isn't going to be something I'm going to be using. I don't even know if this is ever going to get out of the house, but it's unlikely to ever be used indoors, so I'll probably just kind of cover it up with Velcro so I can put what little pedals I've got on there. But it's got enough room for expansion. I think I really only have the one pedal that I use at the moment. It's a kind of equalizer pedal. But it's big enough that I should be able to feel well on there once I finally get around to getting one. And there's a couple others that I really need to get. A looper is another one. Quite full of chorus as well, and probably a compressor. That'll kind of, that's bare minimum. There's a few stars I don't like, but we'll see. I'm still sort of working on building my sound, and yeah, hopefully once I've got all that, I'll be able to give you guys a demo. Other things that I'm working on, just sort of like trying to do a bit more electronics as well. I've got this old pod that my guitar teacher Mark gave me a few years back, and it works fine. I bought it didn't have a power supply for it, so I bought one on Amazon not very long ago. The problem is, if you can see it here, this thing doesn't autofocus, the plug here is broken, so it doesn't stay in place, and I thought, well, you know, I may as well just kind of, as you can see, I've taken the knobs out. If I could just, you know, take the circuit board out and just replace that bit there, the power plug, then it's just a matter of unsoldering that and soldering a new one back in. The difficult bit really was to try and identify what they call it, because I'm not a specialist in electronics, so so it took a little bit of hunting down of keywords and seeing what merchants were calling these parts to finally find something which I think is going to work. So I'm hoping to get the parts sometime early next week. It's really just going to be a bit of soldering, so whether I'm going to film that, I don't know. But I've got my new camera that I got about 3 weeks ago, which is kind of a small, it's over there. I should probably just go and get it and show you, but it's a GoPro knockoff, effectively, which costs about a quarter of the price. But seems to work quite well. It connects on Wi-Fi and everything, so just trying to figure out some way to kind of gather more footage on some interesting things that I do. So yeah, that's the immediate future for the things that I need to work on, but there's tons more things that we want to do. We've got this couch in our living room. Our living room isn't particularly big, and it's a 3-seater and it takes an awful lot of space, but it's worked quite well as a sofa bed, but it's super heavy and my wife thinks it's too big. I'm not particularly fond of it myself, to be honest, but we got it for free from some friends, so you know, can't complain, right? But this gave me the idea of like, well, why not try and make one? You know, you just it's a good way to try and experiment with, you know, just do a wooden frame and figure out a way to sort of still have a couch that works as a sofa bed, but is a bit more compact and works better for us in terms of like maximizing the space that we have here. So this is going to be another kind of longer term project. It's a little bit complicated to work on things at the moment. We've got our outer cladding is being redone at the moment, so it's the only place we can really work, you know, is on our balcony. You know, the living room is fine, but it's always so cluttered that, you know, you spend more time cleaning up than actually doing stuff in here. So but speaking of the balcony, that's another thing in this place that I really want to work on because of this outer cladding upgrade that we're having. I've had to do I think I might have mentioned that before. I've had to do a clearing of the balcony itself. It was like full of junk. The amount of junk that we threw away from there is unbelievable. So it's all clear now, pretty much. But the paint on both the floor and the railing are sort of like really chipping out and looking kind of not very nice. So that'll be a good opportunity as well to try and repaint all of that. And I think that's something that I'm probably going to aim at doing sometime in the spring, early summer, or something like that, when it's a bit warmer outside. So it'll still be another couple of months before we do that. But you know, we're hoping to sort of move away from this place in the near future, but trying to find somewhere affordable in this economy. Good luck. And also, well, affordable and close enough to, like, you know, my place of work and my daughter's school and everything. Edinburgh isn't exactly the the cheapest place to live in Scotland, so but we're working on it, and you know, whatever little things you can do to sort of like ensure that your property is gonna maybe sort of sell for a wee bit more, and it's always a good thing to do. Plus, it's, you know, it's always nice to sort of like just improve the place you live in. And finally, and that's gonna be, and I don't know when I'm gonna start this, but this is something which I've been thinking about for a long time. I want to make my own guitar. Now, what that means is it's probably gonna be a series of projects, you know, leading to, I don't know what it's going to lead to, but my plan is to start with buying a kit, you know, if you've got any experience with building guitars, if you're watching this, if you've got any experience with building guitars, it's probably going to raise all sorts of alarm bells. But I'm well aware of the fact that kits can be bad in terms of wood quality and how it's put together and everything. But because I don't really have the space to, like, you know, shape slabs of wood and whatnot, it'll be easier for me to work with something that's already been cut and then sort of, like, you know, make my small adjustments if I need to. What I dread the most is making adjustment to the neck. That tends to be what's the hardest to fix. But really, it's a case of, you know, I want to be able to, you know, try a stain for a color that I like on the body, and really just kind of like play around with designs. And because the kits that you get tends to come with the headstock, for example, tends to be sort of reasonably squarish, so you can kind of recut it to what you'd like, and sort of maybe experiment with inlays and whatnot. So sorry about that. My camera decided to bail on me both batteries, so I had to use another camera. So what I was saying is the fretboard for these kits tend to already come with inlays, so there shouldn't really be any work done on this, but really the main thing will be to make sure that all the frets are aligned properly, and that's the scale. I've seen videos of people, like professional luthiers, just kind of ordering kits for, like, customizing them, and they end up having to sort of, like, do micro adjustments to the neck itself, because the scale is just slightly off, and if the scale of your neck is not, you know, precisely where it's supposed to be, then it's basically not going to sound good at all. So but really what I'd like to use that for is as a mean to sort of, like, teach myself really all the things you need to know about, you know, what it takes to build a guitar. And it's not just kind of the woodworking, but also sort of like the electronics and the pickups and things like that. I've been planning, and I don't know why I haven't ordered any yet, but I've been planning on replacing at least one of my main guitars, the neck pickup, not the neck pickup, the bridge pickup, for my main guitar, just with a better one, probably a DiMaggio one, because they tend to fit quite well in Ibanez guitars. So so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I could do with more practice with soldering, actually, because last couple of times I've been doing some soldering, it proved to be a heck of a lot more difficult to do than I remember from school, really, from, like, middle school. And I'm not really much of I've not done enough work on electronics to sort of you know, be comfortable doing a lot of work on that. So I really need the practice. So, you know, just at least, you know, fixing that pod and getting the hardware on a guitar together, that should give me enough practice. And in the long term, hopefully I can get a better place to have a workshop, and the ultimate goal is to sort of being able to sort of source my own wood, cut it to shape, and sort of, like, you know, design my own guitar effectively. That's the end game for this. But how long this is going to take, I don't know. And it's not it's not so that I can make a business out of it. It's really just sort of it's more of a creative endeavor, and sort of mixing both my interest for woodworking and music together. So so that's my plans for. I don't even have a time scale for this. I just need to get on with it, really, and do some stuff, and hopefully I can get some footage for that. But I also need to get, you know, more woodworking done. got really quite enthusiastic with it in the first half of last year, and then it kind of I kind of got stuck on a pedal board, and since then I've not really done anything. I've not really planned any kind of small projects. In a future video I can show you some of the projects that I've done last year, and maybe some like even older stuff that I did like 10-15 years ago. I've worked with antlers and other kind of more unusual materials, and it's quite interesting to sort of like, you know, make jewelry and things like that. But right now I really want to focus on just the woodworking. So, but until then, I'll go back to doing stuff. I just wanted to make this video while I still have some daylight, and it, you know, got a bit of quiet time for myself. So have a good week, and see you next time, because I can't even guarantee that it's going to be one next week. So yeah, see you when I see you next.